Full and uncut versions available on Patreon. Check in the description below.
Greetings once again, Pokemaniacs! Duuz-Diz-Din back again, with more of the Pokémon Adventures manga, the story of Sun and Moon, where previously, the Iki Town Festival Tournament is underway. Unbeknownst to everyone participating, is all in an effort by the Kahuna to find someone who can do the Island Challenge and appease the fury of the the Tapu. This isn't Legend of Zelda, who seem to be acting out of sorts for some reason, although Sun's just interested in the Island Challenge amulet, looking to pawn it off for some cash. Sun defeated the Masked Royal. Gladion, filled with ambition, took on the lackadaisical Hal, while Sun ended up facing up against the leader of Team Skull, your boy Guzma, who was determined to get some payback after what Sun did to his grunts, only for him to be defeated. Moon next went up against Gladion, where she learned about the regional forms and how some of the Pokemon she captured in Alola didn't really have the same typing as she was used to, so this caused her to lose. And so it all came down to Sun and Gladion. But just as Gladion's artificial Pokemon type Null had Sun's Litten on the back foot, an explosive burst of energy caused Sun's Litten to unleash a Z move, taking down type Null, but also exhausting Sun. So he didn't quite see the end of the tournament, but he did find himself awoken aboard a boat with the Island Challenge amulet and a new Rotom Pokédex. What's going on? Join me as I find out, won't you? Alright, we pick up with Sun on a boat, where he goes to the edge of it, questioning, well, what happened to me? Only for a voice to call out, quiet down. It's Moon, wielding her bow and arrow. Sun questions, huh? Miss, it's you. What are you aiming at? Only for him to spot Moon's? Rowlet? Is it hers now? It's really hard to say at this point. It's just kind of been following her around. But it's being pursued and injured by Team Skull, being hit by their Salandit. Moon takes aim, lines up the shot, lets fly her arrow, which has a berry attached. The berry is launched right into her Rowlet's mouth, and it takes off. The male grunt says, it suddenly sped up. The female says, damn it, she gave it a Salakberry. Oh, that increases speed. The Rowlet flies right into Moon's arms as she says, I'll take care of your injuries in a minute, okay, Rowlet? She then addresses Sun, saying, after coming all the way to see us off, Rowlet was attacked by Team Skull right before our departure. But everything's all right now. Ah, that's what happened. Team Skull on the attack no matter what, huh? Only for Kukui to peek out from the driver's seat saying, oh, thanks, Moon. Sun says, Professor Kukui? Kukui steps up on the deck saying, well, it seems to like you a lot. Are you sure it didn't want to come with you instead of just seeing you off? Why don't you make it part of your team? Moon, all smiles, says, is that okay? I'd love to. Okay, now it's hers. But Sun, frustrated, says, gah, someone tell me what's going on. Kukui says, oh, you're up. Hey, up, I'm Kukui. Oh my god. What a dad joke. And that doesn't come till later. If you know, you know. Sun says, why you? But then Kukui gets serious, saying, I'll explain, so listen carefully. Last night you won the full force battle and lost consciousness. Do you remember? Sun hesitantly says, yeah? Kukui then says, about that. Sun nods, but Moon then says, Professor, the yacht's going off course. Kukui turns saying, right, we've got to go right. God, I love the translations for this. But Kukui continues explaining, saying, the Island Kahuna and Samson Oak, even me, we were certain that victory would go to Gladion. Sun says, you what? Kukui says, however, Litten unleashed an amazing attack, making victory yours. Sun thinks back, saying, that weird ember, huh? Kukui continues saying, so the Island Kahunas say that move was unleashed due to some power from the stone you were using as a splint. How he Oh, I didn't realize he was using the stone as a splint. Son, where did you get that stone? Son says, I found it on the ground. Kukui begins to say, what? But he's interrupted by Hala on a screen saying, on the ground. Kukui says, Hala. Hala says, son, congratulations on your victory once again. How are you feeling? Son says, well, as fine as I'll ever be, I guess. Hala says, I'm glad to hear that. I was worried. I presumed you lost consciousness due to the shock of such great power flowing through you unexpectedly. Son, though, says, I have no idea what you're talking about. And Hala just says, so, what exactly did you mean when you said the stone was on the ground? Son explains, saying, Tapu Koko, I think it was called. It fell after I fought that Pokémon. I picked it up and took it with me. Kukui says, don't tell me you were planning to sell it. Son says, excuse me? Tapu Koko dropped it. I was going to give it back whenever I got to see it again. Do you really think I'm so desperate to save money that I'd take something that might belong to someone else and sell it? Kukui says, no, I don't. I'm sorry. Son says, as long as you get it, that's fine. Hala then says, I see. So it was after you fought. If that's the case, there isn't a doubt in my mind that the Tapu entrusted you with it. Son then freaks out saying, oh, so does that mean it's mine? All right, then I'll pawn it with the Island Challenge amulet and, where did it go? Hala holds it up saying, here is the stone. Officially, it's called a sparkling stone. I'm currently in the middle of working on it. You were given a sparkling stone by Tapu and won the full force battle. There is no one more fit for this duty than you, son. Son questions, what kind of duty? Hala explains, saying, there is some sort of crisis coming to Alola. The Tapus have sensed it and are enraged. It's an important duty where you must journey Alola's 4 islands, bond with the Tapus, and face that crisis. That was the true prize for winning the full force battle. The Island Challenge amulet, which serves as proof of you taking on the duty. Son picks up the amulet saying, say what? Hold the damn phone. This is all wrong. Prizes for winning are supposed to be rewards, aren't they? This is more like a punishment, he says, grappling with the screen. And for Pete's sake, I'm in a hurry to save 100 million yen here. I don't have time for... Hala says, I anticipated that you would say something like that. You're a courier, correct? If so, we can make this duty a job instead. The Mirage Berry is needed to calm the Tapu's rage. The job of delivering that berry, I want to have you do it. Of course, because this is a job, you will be rewarded accordingly. Also, the expenses necessary for completing it will be paid separately. That's all you had to say, man. Yep, sure enough. Son holds forward the Island Challenge amulet, saying, I'd be happy to. Hala then says, once I finish working on the stone, I'll contact you. I've given Kukui the delivery slips. The son rather dejectedly questions, so you're telling me you knew this had happened? Kukui simply says with a smile, of course. Moon then smilingly says, it's only been 3 days since we met, and even I could guess. Okay, that's an interesting way of making it so that he has the various missions he needs to do. They're all on delivery slips. Son questions, so what's that Mirage Berry Hala was talking about? Kukui says, well... Oh, then the Rotom Dex then interrupts, saying, we will be arriving at Akala Island soon. Zzz. Get ready to dock. Son says, that's right, Professor, what is this thing? The Rotom Dex then says, well, hello to you too. Zzz. We met the day before yesterday. Zzz. Kukui says, that's right, that's the Rotom Moon brought here. Shoot, it's one of the few canonical ways that Pokemon could actually talk to you. Son smiles, saying, oh, so you finally got to go inside the Pokédex. It's really convenient that you could talk. I look forward to working with. But as Son holds out his hands, the Rotom Dex slaps it away. Kukui says, hey now, no one ever said it was your Pokédex. Sun questions, huh? Moon, with a very devious smile, says, you see, the professor told me he had another one, so I asked if I could have it. Ikui says, that's right. The Pokédex Rotom matched with his Moons. As you see the Rotom Dex holding up the other Rotom Dex. And then he starts shoving it in Sun's face, saying, this Pokédex is yours. You better take good care of it. Sun says, watch it, Bubba. And Kukui then calls out, now, let's land at Akala Island. We then cut to Gladian at Milimili Island, Ruins of Conflict. There's a idol on an altar ahead of him. As he approaches, a voice calls out from beyond it saying, I thought you'd showed up. The suspension bridge was destroyed, right? Did you fly here? Oh, it's Guzma. It's your boy Guzma. Just saying, but Tapu Koko ain't here. As Guzma steps from behind the effigy, he says, I'm getting tired of looking for it too. But Gladian doesn't respond. Guzma says, come on, don't look at me like that. Didn't we compete in the full force battles together? I heard you let the courier win without even bringing out your second Pokemon. Gladian doesn't respond to that, simply questioning, what do you want? As Guzma steps down from the altar, he says, you're one cool kid. Well, whatever. Real talk. I want to hire you to be a bodyguard for Team Skull. Gladian doesn't respond to this either. Guzma continues on saying, you got me when I saw you fight at the festival. My gang might try to look cool, but they're all just idiots. I want to have someone strong join to set them straight. That's why. But Gladian immediately says, fine. Guzma takes notice of this, saying, oh, that was quick. Gladian then asks, I have one question. When you left the stage of combat, you said the only one who can order me around is that person. Is there a boss who's above you? Guzma says with a smile, let's see. Did I really say that? I don't remember. I'll take you to the team hideout. Follow me. We then cut over to Akala Island, the Akala Island dock, where Sun and Moon are waiting. Oh, Sun seems bored, saying the professor sure is taking his time. Moon says, yeah. He said to wait here for an hour, but where was the dimensional research lab again? The professor went to his wife's, Professor Brunette's research lab, right? Is it far from here? The Rotom Dex responds, just a short walk. Sun says, I don't know what he's doing, but I wish he'd get it over with already. Suddenly a voice calls out, hey, it's them! It is Kiawe, Lana, and Mellow, with Kiawe saying, are the trainers with the Island Challenge amulet you two? Sun shows off the amulet saying, we have one, but who are you? Mallow questions, you don't know us? Who you? Lana questions, are you not from Alola by chance? Sun says, nope, I was born and raised in Kanto. Moon takes notice of this saying, huh? Really? Is she also from Kanto? I think so. Mallow gives a salute saying, the three of us are Akala Island's trial captains. I'm Mallow. I'm Kiawe. My name is Lana. Moon then questions, what are trial captains exactly? Mallow says, well, in a way, I guess you could call us coaches who test the abilities of trainers taking the Island Challenge. Sun says, so if this was Kanto, you'd be like gym leaders, which means, did you come to battle me? Kiawe unleashes his Alolan Marowak, saying, that's right, you're sharp. His Marowak then starts doing the little fire spin dance around Sun and says, whoa, you didn't tell me about this, Hala. Kiawe says, of course not. This is something the three of us decided ourselves. No one has taken the Island Challenge in years. We wanted to know exactly what kind of person was reviving it. The island kahunas Hala, Nanu, as well as our island's Olivia. Those three whom we deeply respect acknowledge you, so we don't want to raise any objections. However, as someone who only beat 6 people really fit to take the challenge was something we all wondered. Now, show me your true ability. If you don't, I won't allow you to pass. Sun says, have it your way. Go, Scent. Unleashing his Meow. Meow starts to battle against Marowak. Kiawe says, oh, nice moves. Well then, he tells Marowak to use Flame Wheel, igniting the ends of its bone club and going into a fiery dance, putting pressure on Meowth. Moon says, "Is this Marowak's Alolan regional variant? If so, does that mean it's not a ground type? Its flames are blue, so..." Lana approaches her saying, "Are you from another region too?" Kiawe gets fired up and does a fire dance himself, saying, "I can't believe this! Letting 2 foreigners take on the island challenge? Unbelievable!" Marowak unleashes one of its flames, and it starts to chase down Meowth. Meowth runs towards Sun, and Sun starts to run away too, saying, "What's with these flames? They're chasing after me." Lana notes, "The bones Marowak uses were once its mother's. Its mother's feelings are said to have become flames that protect the Pokémon." The Duuz-Diz-Din chimes in saying, "It's exactly as she said. And Alolan Marowak's types are fire and ghosts." We get the reading from the Pokédex saying, "Marowak, the Bone Keeper Pokémon, Alolan form. The bone it possesses were once its mother's. Its mother's regrets have become like a vengeful spirit protecting this Pokémon." Kiawe then has Marowak use Shadow Bone, which he uses to uppercut Meowth. Sun says, "An attack that targets where the opponent's footing is unstable by running around them, huh? Darn it. Do your best, Scent. This match will be included in our expenses." Just the phrasing of that kind of throws me, so it does. He always says, "Expenses? What do you mean?" Sun tells him, "I have a part-time job as a courier. Taking the Island Challenge is part of a job I accepted from Hala, so I'm not participating in this match for free. If I lose here, I'll lose a hell of a lot of money." Mallow questions, "What? You're earning money by taking the Island Challenge? What do you take Alolan Tradition for?" Yeah, I gotta figure they take a bit of issue with that. Sun tells him, "I'm going to do everything required of me for the Island Challenge. I don't know about tradition and stuff, but I put my heart into my job as a courier. What's wrong with being rewarded for that?" Kiawe takes this in, saying, "Putting your heart into it for a job?" Sun then calls out, "You listening, Scent? Don't be afraid of the flames. Then you can dodge its bone, okay?" As Marowak sends out another flame, as it approaches Scent turns tail and runs. As Marowak goes in for a strike, Scent sees this coming, and Sun has it use Feint Attack, striking Marowak. Moon cheers, "He got him!" Well, Mallow says, "They got him." Meanwhile, Kiawe says, "No way." You see that he's on the phone, which takes everyone off guard, saying, "Am I fired, boss? It's true that there was an emergency and I left without permission. I'm sorry that I contacted you so late. I beg of you, have mercy." "Yes, understood." "Oh, right. Kiawe does deliveries too." See, I thought that was... I couldn't remember which version of it he does that in. Yeah, I know that in the, right, it's in the anime. He does deliveries and stuff, but I didn't know he did that here too. I couldn't remember if he did that in the games as well. So he was just consumed with thinking about, "Oh right, I never contacted my job." Moon questions, "What happened?" Lana says, "Kiawe has a part-time job at a store called the Thrifty Megamart." Mallow knows he's saving up to study fire dancing abroad. Sun's question, "Saving up?" Sun and Kiawe then, give some daps. Sun saying, "Well, what do you know? We're perfect pals." Kiawe says, "Yeah, thanks to you, I avoided getting fired. Thank you." It's just like, you remind me to actually call into work. Maybe I should go back now. Mallow then shouts, "Doesn't this match come first?" It's always funny how Kiawe ends up. Because I always remember first seeing Kiawe, but Kiawe's the one character who consistently ends up being like one of the friendliest with the main characters. Honestly, it took me off guard that he wasn't as involved in the games as he is in a lot of other stuff. Because you see him here bonding with Sun, and Kiawe was like pretty much the closest friend Ash had in Alola. If I'm remembering that correctly. I only ever saw a few episodes of the Sun and Moon anime, but Kiawe felt like the most like in lockstep with Ash. They were both kind of hot-headed to a certain degree, but kind of goofy too. Sun then says, "That's not even worth the worry. I was going to use assurance next." Kiawe says, then I would have lost completely. Mala's just completely done with this. Moon says, so this means you acknowledge the courier taking on the island challenge. Kiawe says, yeah, there isn't a person who gives their all for a job or saving money who's bad. But then Lana calls out, I can't. Moon is taken off guard as Lana expresses her feelings, saying, Kiawe might be okay with that, but I'm not. Though shyly looking away, she declares, I can't acknowledge him with just that. Now I'm going to have you follow me. We're going to Brooklet Hill. See, it's weird seeing Lana be that shy because, I don't know, the Lana that I'm kind of used to, she seems to have a shy disposition, but she's far more outgoing than she kind of, that you would kind of think from the onset. Like, I always take her as a girl who's not afraid to speak her mind, which you're seeing there, but then having her have the appearance of looking kind of meek and shy and stuff is a little bit odd, but moving on. Also, I forgot, this chapter is called Going Ashore, Neighboring Akala Island. Okay, there we go. All right, moving on to chapter 9, titled True Identity and the Totem Pokemon of Brooklet Hill. All right, the Totem Pokemon. I forgot all about these. We open up with the Rotom deck saying, Brooklet Hill is a hilly area with a cove resembling a chain of pools. It's a sightseeing spot of Akala Island, flourishing with fishing and water play. We see the kids sitting down in a cafe, more specifically, oh right, the Pokemon centers, I think, also functioned as cafes, right? That's when you had more stuff going on in the Pokemon centers, right? I think that was it. Correct me if I'm wrong. But Moon is sitting down with Lana and Mallow. Moon saying, so you're saying to defeat the Pokemon known as a totem Pokemon living at the sightseeing area. Lana says, yes. If he has the strength to defeat the totem Pokemon, I think it'll be okay to leave the island challenge to you two. Moon gets up saying, understood. Please wait for a moment. She exits and walks outside, where we see, okay, I was wondering where they were at. Sun and Kiawe facing off again. Sun says, let's do this, Kiawe. And Kiawe says, bring it on, Sun. Come. Really? It's their bank account? Is it ready, set, go, and throw down their bank books? Sun looks at Kiawe's finances, saying, his funds to study abroad, and he only has this much? Kiawe says, at this pace, 100 million yen is. Kiawe tells Sun, it's a long journey for both of us till we get to our target sum. Sun says, losing courage is taboo, Kiawe. Only for Moon's, Grubbin? Was that it? Yeah, Grubbin. There we go. He used string shot to bind up Sun and drag him inside. Moon gives a bow, saying, sorry to keep you both waiting, to Mallow and Lana. Sun says, what the heck are you doing, miss? Moon explains, the island challenge is your job, right? Listen carefully to their explanation yourself. True enough, the responsible one. Sun says, my bad. So, what should I be doing? One explanation later, Sun says, a totem? What kind of Pokemon is it? Lana says, it's about 8 meters in size, and it causes violent smashes and whirlpools, and it drags in fishing rods and floaties and beach balls. Sun smiles, saying, I see, so it's causing problems for everyone. It'll be fine if I get rid of it and bring back the piece, right? Lana stammers, saying, well, Sun then questions, but are you the strongest trainer around here? If everyone's in trouble, shouldn't you solve this on your own? But Moon says, wait a second, courier. Oh, Lana starts to well up with tears, with Moon saying, there are extenuating circumstances. Sun tells her, all right, job taken. I'll put all the expenses on Mr. Hala, so don't worry. As Lana starts to break down in tears. Aw. I keep going between Lana and Lana. I really need to kind of pin this down how I should say her name. Lana. There you go, Lana. Not like I've never heard her name before. It's escaping me for some reason. As everyone heads outside, he always says, son, I don't want to part, but I've got to go to work. Sun says, got it. It was the thrifty Megamark, right? I wonder if I could get a job there. He's really looking for another job. I respect the hustle. Cowboy says, if that's the case, stop by. I'll introduce you to the manager. Sun says, seriously? Then let's go together. The Moon calls out, Island Challenge. Sun says, I said I know. By the way, miss, how long are you going to keep following me? And honestly, at this point, Moon has to follow him just to make sure he actually does what he's supposed to. Not to mention, I think she's too interested in a lot of those cracks in the sky she's been seeing. Her scientific curiosity has just gotten the better of her at this point. She really is a lot like Platinum. Sun says, you put this guy in the Pokédex, so your job is finished, ain't it? You're not gonna go home, aren't you free? The random deck says, every one of your words are making me angry. The Moon says, now. Courier, do you remember the info I requested from Mr. Hala? Sun says, of course. Deliver the Mirage Berry to the Tapu. Moon says, that's right. So, where is that berry? Sun says, don't you have it, miss? Moon says, why would I? Sun says, then Professor Kukui. Moon says, he doesn't have it either. Sun throws his arms up saying, what the hell? You mean I have to search for that berry too? Damn it, what the hell is this Mirage Berry? Or is it? If I can't deliver it, then I won't make any money, will I? That's it, miss, since you're free, help me search for the berry. Moon simply says, of course, that's the plan. Though the Rotom Dex is still kind of pissed, like, I'm so tired of this kid. Sun's kind of shocked by this declaration, though. As Moon says, harvesting berries that only grow in this region, that's the other reason I came here. Ah, okay. Makes a lot of sense for someone who does a lot of, concocting. I was planning to visit the 4 islands regardless of you, so I might as well help you with your work too. I'm not free, but I might as well, okay? Sun says, you saved me, but what about the expenses? Moon says, I might as well, so I'm doing it for free. The Moon goes off to the side with a devilish look on her face, thinking, getting formally requested by Professor Kukui after the festival last night to help Sun since he probably won't be able to find the Mirage Berry himself, and getting the Pokédex as a reward. I'll just keep quiet about that. How delightfully thrilling. She is... Sun's cool, but Moon is definitely my favorite of the two. Mallow then calls out, okay, Moon will go to the lush jungle with me, and Sun will go to Brooklet Hill with Lana. As the two pairs part ways, Moon calls out, take care not to be rude, okay? And the bones in your left arm are starting to mend, so be careful, okay? Sun says, yeah. Again, Lana having this... I think Lana in the anime had a bit of a crush on Ash, right? Or she was very easily embarrassed from time to time. I feel like the anime and manga maybe made Lana seem a little bit more up in her emotions, more than I'm used to. She got a very Hinata-esque vibe, but the game didn't really have that for her, so that's kind of what's throwing me off. At least, not from what I remember. We then cut over to the Dimensional Research Lab, with Kukui looking through some files, saying, honey, is this your file? Blanking on name, which is kind of a bummer. Professor Burnett says, that's the one. Please send the first 10 pages of data to me. Kukui says, the pages with entries about Palkia, Giratina, and Bronzong, right? Huh, that's oddly specific. Burnett back at their house says, yeah, thank you, you saved me, darling. How are Sun and Moon? Kukui says, I hear Sun is going to Brooklet Hill with a captain, and Moon is going to the lush jungle. How are things over there? Burnett says, you mean Lily? She's trying her hardest and everything. Is Lily patching up holes in the... Oh, from Kukui when he was doing a lot of his, experiments and stuff? Yep, sure enough. I think these speech bubbles are wrong because it looks like Kukui saying it, but I'm pretty sure Burnett says, now she's repairing the hole you made in the hole in the wall you made, darling. Kukui says, ugh, I'm sorry, honey. Is Lily okay? And then Burnett says, yeah, she's got a strong desire to be useful. That's why I suggested it, but, darling, when you come back, won't you use her as your assistant? Kukui questions assistant. Burnett tells him, yeah, you're gonna let Pokemon use their moves in the house right away, right? Why not leave the repairs of the holes in the wall and roof to her? Kukui looks displeased with that, and Burnett says, that was a joke, but if you're always at her side and can watch over her, Lily will also be able to feel comfortable, right? Kukui questions, did she say something about herself? Burnett says, no, just there's one thing I found out. That Nebby she takes along with her is a Pokemon after all. Plus, it's a legendary Pokemon called Cosmog. Kukui questions, legendary? Burnett says, yeah, I finally found old documentation on it, but she won't answer me even when I ask her why she has such a rare Pokemon with her. Perhaps she herself doesn't remember. What I do know is, oh, we see that she hurt her finger. She came here running from someone, and that means that Cosmog might be involved with that. We then cut over to Sun and Lana as he races down the waterway saying, ooh, so this is Brooklet Hill. Now then, where is the totem Pokemon? But as he races off, Lana tries to call out to him. As she stammers, Sun looks back, and he immediately slips and hits his face. Lana saying, it's slippery, so please be more careful. Sun says, say that faster next time. He then notices a coin rolling off his person towards and into the water. He screams, no! Ah! My 1 yen coin! Oh, what should I do? It's so dark I can't see well. Lana questions, isn't it just a single yen? But Sun shouts, what are you saying? If I only had 199 yen, I wouldn't be able to buy a 200 yen Pokeball, yeah? If you laugh at a yen, you'll make the yen cry, yeah? But suddenly, he hears the sound of a coin jingling. He turns to see, what was it called? Wishy-washy. A singular Wishy-washy, holding up the 1 yen coin. Sun says, my 1 yen. So you got it for me. Thank you, thank you. It's the first time I've seen this Pokemon. Oh yeah, I should have just kept reading. Lana says, it's called Wishy-washy. Sun says, wow, it's so small and cute. Well, that huge 8-meter Pokemon is here, right? Don't they get bullied and eaten? Lana says, they say they're delicious, but Sun says, all right, and that means you need to be protected. You're going to be one of my pals now, okay? Your eyes are like X marks. All right, your name's going to be Bait? Bat? Quarter. There we go. Also, in the English dub, he probably dropped the quarter. And he's just like, since you cut my quarter, I'll call you Quarter. Lana says, if you're going to put it on your team, you've got to catch it with a Pokeball. Sun waves are all saying, later. Quarter, do you know where the totem Pokemon is? The 8-meter one? Do you know? Could you guide me to it? Quarter points in the distance. Sun says, I'll swim too. And he uses his ride pager to summon a ride Pokemon, Lapras, the paddle. He then brings out his Litten and tells Lana, if Quarter is attacked, help it. Oh no, he tells his Litten, okay, be back in a flash, Lana. And as he takes off, you see some splashing in the water. It says, oh, just a Alomomala. A Whirlpool's here. That isn't it, just a Poliwag. Oh, I think I actually remember this section of the game. No? Over here? Huh? No? The day's almost over. That means we spent 4 to 5 hours searching. Quarter, do you really know where the totem Pokemon is? Wishy-washy starts to look dejected, and so says, I'm sorry for doubting you. So we can't find any similar shapes or any whirlpools or splashes, huh? As he looks into the water, he says, guess I'll dive in then. And he jumps into the sea as he finds more and more Wishy-washy floating about. As he surfaces, he says, there's just a lot of Wishy-washy. Did you just call us to your habitat, Quarter? What are you trying to tell me? His Litten then locks eyes with Wishy-washy. Oh, jeez. Another of Sun's Pokemon not getting along. Because Litten tries to go for Wishy-washy. I guess it wants dinner. Sun saying, whoa, stop, Dollar. Litten then starts firing off fire blasts that Wishy-washy dodges and takes off. Sun calls out, Quarter, what's the big idea, Dollar? Are you trying to grill and eat it? Though it does seem delicious. It got scared and ran away. But then Sun notices Wishy-washy approaching. He says, you came back. But then he notices more Wishy-washy and more. As more starts to form around him, causing a massive whirlpool, and suddenly a massive explosion of water, and you have Wishy-washy, school form? Yeah, wishy-washy school form that comes bursting out of the water. Sun says, Quarter, this school of wishy-washy gathered and formed. You guys are the totem Pokemon. Yep, sure enough. Ding, 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 give the kid a prize. We then cut over to the lush jungle with Mallow and Moon. Moon wipes the sweat from her brow, saying, Hey, I wonder if the courier is doing things properly. Mallow says, a kid so self-aware of his goals, means, and abilities won't do anything irresponsible. See, Mallow is the one, I forget, where is it that she's, her parents own like a restaurant? Was that the anime? I think it was the anime. Mallow says, Moon, are you alright? Aren't you tired? Moon says, I'm alright. I've also trained for field work. But then Moon spots something saying, Mallow, what's this powder? Mallow says, Dunno, it's the first time I've seen it. It has a somewhat strange feel. Moon says, perhaps this is what I've been seeking. He then looks to the sky and seems to see Tapu Lili? That's Tapu Lili, right? I think. And she's with something. Moon says, that's, circuitry. The Ronin deck says, it's Tapu Lili. Moon says, Tapu Lili? Mallow says, what? It's the guardian deity of Akala Island, but what's it doing there? Moon says it's fighting, but what is it fighting? As we see one of the hands of circuitry extending out, grabbing for Tapu Lili. How ominous. Alright, and the last chapter for this video is chapter 10, titled Defeat and the Commander of the School of Fish. Okay. As circuitry reaches through the ultra wormhole, grabbing at Tapu Lili, Mallow calls out, Tapu Lili, what is it fighting? Hey, that thing Tapu Lili's fighting, doesn't it almost look like there's a crack in the sky and it's trying to come out of it? Moon thinks back to Gladion talking about a crack in the sky, as she thinks, what in the world is it? What's on the other side? And what is that? Moon asks Rotom, is that a Pokemon? The Rotom deck says, right now, there isn't any data on it, but if I get closer, I might be able to get some. I'm gonna try. Moon says, I'm counting on you. As Rotom flies up to the space, as the top of Circuitry's head pops out. Mallow says, it's out. Is that its head? But Circuitry spots Rotom and shocks it, causing the Rotom decks to fall to the ground. Moon calls out, Rotom. Rotom says, that was an electric type move just now, and it was unusually strong, but I couldn't get any. And then it goes offline. Moon holds it up saying, Rotom, it shut down. Maybe it passed out inside, but it didn't manage to say what it needed to. That was an electric type move. If it's a Pokemon, it should be possible. So Moon pulls out her Pokeball bow and arrow. Mallow questions, Moon, what are you planning? Moon says, I'm going to try capturing it. Rowlet, Razor Leaf. And Rowlet flies up, unleashing Razor Leaf on Circuitry. Moon watches, steadies her aim, and then fires. Did she catch it? Oh no. Mallow says, you hit it. Moon says, of course. Pokeball falls to the ground. Mallow says, look, the crack is starting to close as the ultra wormhole shuts. Moon picks up the Pokeball, taking the arrow off. Mallow questions, did you capture it? But Moon shakes her head, revealing the empty Pokeball. Mallow says, dang it all. Moon says, where's Tapu Lili? Oh, we see Tapu Lili off to the side looking utterly pissed. I'm not used to Tapu Lili looking so angry. That taking me a little bit off guard. And then Tapu Lili just pieces out. Mallow says, it looked kind of angry. I wonder why. Moon says, the only thing we can do to find out is to ask it directly. Mallow questions, ask it directly? Moon says, right, that's why we're taking the island challenge. But first we have to find the Mirage Berry. That, and she sees more of the weird flakes falling. Mallow says, that's the powder from earlier. You're collecting it? Moon says, that's right. This powder, Tapu Lili was scattering it. I think that it might be scales or something similar. Mallow says, but I wonder what exactly the thing was that Tapu Lili was fighting. It looked like a bunch of cables bundled together. Moon says, let's ask the Tapu about that too. Mallow then says, but what if we found out what that cable bundle looking thing was? Don't you think we could calm the Tapu's rage and find out why they were fighting if we did that? I wonder if there's anyone that knows about the cable bundle looking thingy. Moon says, And Mallow questions, what's up? Moon questions, calling it the cable bundle looking thingy is a mouthful. So could we give it a nickname? Mallow embarrassed says, you're right. Well, it was shooting some stuff that looked like electricity, so does lightning work? Moon says, sounds good with me. Meanwhile, we pick back up with Sun facing off against the totem Pokemon Wishy-Washy, school form. Sun says, so it was you then, huh? Then Quarter. That's that crazy 8-meter gigantic totem Pokemon. Or should I say, a Wishy-Washy horde. The giant Wishy-Washy unleashes a stream of water that knocks Sun off of Lapras. As Lapras takes off with Sun climbing back on board, he checks his Pokedex saying, I got it, it's here. Ability Schooling. The entry reads, Wishy-Washy, the small fry Pokemon solo form. When it's in trouble, its eyes moisten and begin to shine. The shining light attracts its comrades, and they stand together against their enemies. Sunset's Quarter was trying to tell us that they were all the totem Pokemon. That's why it led us to where all its friends were. Dollar, you knew what its ability was and got it into trouble on purpose, right? Thanks a bunch, buddy. I can't keep you out in the fight against water types. Switch out with Scent. So as he brings out his Meowth, Wishy-Washy fires another blast, knocking Lapras forward. Sun says, yikes, it was a Hydro Pump level water gun. I can't keep running like this. If I don't defeat the totem, Lana won't forgive me for taking the island challenge. And man, you see Lana on the shore just shooting this death glare at him like, Jesus. See, that's not quite the Lana I'm used to, but just, you better come strong, son. But then Sun sees to notice something. Just as Wishy-Washy goes on the attack, using its tail to hit Sun into the water. Sun holds up his Meow saying, we got hit by Aqua Tail. He then locks eyes, figuratively, with Wishy-Washy, saying, damn it. But, even if it's something coming at us with full strength, when I think about how Quarter is in there, but suddenly Meowth leaps forward and starts attacking Wishy-Washy in a blind fury. Sun says, sheesh, since coin got all wet and now it's completely lost itself. Suddenly, Lana starts shouting with authority from the shore, Jesus! She is just watching it. She is not pleased. The Lana I remember was just very serious, very straightforward. Kiawe seemed mean, but, he wasn't. He's just very intense. Mallow, overly friendly and kind, whereas Lana is more of a neutral. Not to say that she wasn't friendly, but, she wasn't overly blushing. She wasn't a shrinking violet. Like, Lana just had a very standard way of doing things. All kind of business, more or less, but in a playful manner to a certain degree. But Lana here, intense, saying, what are you doing? Stop spacing out and properly receive its counterattacks. Do it over. Sun is hit by another water gun, just knocking him into the water. And as he comes up for air, he says, Lana? And she shoots him a death glare, saying, what is it? Sun shrieks and says, this totem, could it be that you trained it? Lana says, that's right. After I became a trial captain, in order to properly measure the strength of those who challenged me, I raised Wishy-Washy to be a powerful Pokemon. However, I made it too strong, and now it's starting to become a threat to sightseers. Sun says, huh? Didn't you say that the totem was troubling you, and that you wanted me to get rid of it? Lana says, I never said any such thing. You just jumped to conclusions. The shift in personalities really kind of taken me aback. Sun says, huh? But when you asked if you could take care of it yourself, when I asked if you could take care of it yourself, you started crying. Lana says, that's because you were all talking so fast that I couldn't say everything that I wanted to. Sun sinks into the water saying, sorry. Lana says, you underestimate me because I'm small, hesitant, crybaby, didn't you? You thought you had to protect me and go easy on me, didn't you? And we see Scent just getting slammed with another Aqua Tail. Sun goes swimming over, calling out to his Meowth as Wishy-Washy looms over him. Okay, I like that we specifically made the left eye specifically Quarter. Sun says, Quarter, you're the same, aren't you? You're just like Lana, right? Just because you're small and look like you're crying doesn't mean you're weak. If you're gonna attack us, give it your all you've got. That's what you want to say, right? He says, Quarter, Cent, keep it together. Listen closely. The left eye. Aim for Quarter. The wishy-washy gathered because Quarter was in trouble. Quarter is most likely leading them. If we defeat their leader, the horde might disperse. Don't hold back. And as Wishy-Washy fires off another water gun, Scent leaps forward, claws bared. Oh, bounding over the stream of water. As another Aqua Tail comes in, Scent eats the hit. Lana still glaring up a storm. But Sunseal seems determined, as we see that Scent wasn't hit by the Aqua Tail. No, he managed to actually use it to feint being struck, while clinging to it with his own tail. Scent waits for the right opportunity, and Mouth rushes in to the left eye, to Quarter, and strikes with fury swipes. The entire group of Wishy-Washy disperses. Sun makes it to shore with the Wishy-Washy and Meowth, saying, I've defeated the totem, Lana. I passed, right? Lana, now back to being shy, says, yes, you passed. Great job. I'm sorry. Sun is taken off guard, and Lana says, I'm sorry, I can't speak well unless it's during Pokemon battles. That and my sisters always tell me that I'm way too scary during battles. You know what? At least the part of Lana that's always kind to her younger sisters is still there. I don't know how I feel about the shyness, but it's kind of endearing. Sun says, don't sweat it. I'm sorry too. All right then, Quarter. I'll say it one more time. Be one of my pals. Take on the island challenge with me. If one of us leaves, we won't be able to form the horde. That's just like how if I'm off by a single yen, I won't reach my goal of 100 million. Wishy-Washy then starts gesturing to itself, saying, wait. Sun says, huh? And Lana explains, saying, it wants you to put it in a Pokeball. Sun says, oh, all right. And so he catches Wishy-Washy, saying, excited to work with you, Quarter. We then cut over to Mili Island, Icky Town, where we see Hala still at work. He says, phew, that's done. Someone enters his room, saying, it looks like a Tapu was spotted on the next island over. Hala turns, saying, oh, you're here. I'm sorry I couldn't go to meet you first. Kahili. And I gotta say, Kahili, it looks a lot thicker in this art style, if you get my drift. The artist for this manga just draws the women with a little bit more meat on their bones, if you know what I'm saying. But it's nice to actually see Kahili involved a little bit earlier on in the story. Nice to see things are fully in motion, fully in the swing of things. You know, we got the Rotom decks. We actually got a lot of the trial captains, which I'm glad to see their involvement. I wasn't sure how much involvement they were actually going to have. Because, if I'm being honest, I was always kind of bummed just how should I phrase this? Not as important they seemed in the actual game. Even here, as well as the anime, make Lana, Kiawe, and Mallow seem a lot more important than they actually are in the game. And I feel like that feeling that they're not as important also kind of comes from the fact that they're all on this one island. In fact, I'll be honest, I'm surprised that we're being introduced to them first, because that's not how it goes in the game. They aren't the first trial captains you meet, so that actually kind of is throwing me too, which is why I also feel like their importance isn't as stated. Honestly, if there was any captain who felt like they end up kind of shining the most, it would be Acerola. Mostly because of what happens to her later on. But, I don't know. I like what they're doing with the trial captains here so far. I just hope that the other trial captains have their little moments too. It's not like big, but unlike with the other storylines, you can flesh out a lot of these characters, the kahunas and the trial captains, because it's not so many as you would have for, gym leaders and all that. And you got how many trial captains? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. And then you have the Kahuna, which was about enough to make up an Elite Four, more or less, plus Kahili. You have enough people that it kind of makes up the same amount as gym leaders and the Elite Four, and then some to a certain degree. But I don't know, I just feel like things should be easier in Alola in how many characters you kind of address overall. In Lana's intensity kind of is a bit much. You would have figured Kiawe would have been the one to look out for, but it was Lana, which I feel like gets the overall idea. Don't judge a book by its cover kind of situation. And Mallow and Moon having their little moment too was actually kind of nice. I hope that, I don't know, whenever Moon is teamed up with someone, there's just this weird natural chemistry she has with them. Sun, there always seems to be a kind of bit of friction at first, and they have to warm up to each other, but Moon we are immediately just very, co-simpatico. But these are, two protagonists really do feel like a duality, two sides of the same coin kind of situation. They're both outsiders, but they function wildly differently. And despite the fact that Sun has, been in Alola for a while, and at least people in one region all know him, he's very oblivious to everybody else on the various different islands. Whereas Moon doesn't know any of them, but she just naturally gels with everyone, just including Olivia, with everything that happened with Olivia. Moon just naturally just ended up helping out. Moon just goes with the flow and sees any opportunity and just always lands in an opportunity too. That's very interesting. I don't hate Sun, but I do just really like Moon as a whole. So maybe Sun will kind of be a little bit more endearing to me too, but maybe it's just the fact that we have Sun being such an extreme extrovert, just always speaking his mind, whereas Moon kind of keeps things to herself. She keeps them close to the vest. I wouldn't quite call her an introvert, but someone who's not always clamoring to let every little bit of what she's got going on be known kind of situation. But let me know your thoughts in the comments section below. Also remember to like, comment, subscribe if you enjoyed the ride. Thank you so much for watching. And until next time, I've been Duuz-Diz-Din and hope to see you later. So then take care. Bye-bye.